Hope this guy doesn't talk too long. But it is a very, very interesting case that we have here. We have one of India's most prominent television production houses deciding to move into OTT. We are talking about the linkage of our company, which is Xstream, at one bookend, and the other one, Diagnal, at the other bookend, who is developing and delivering rather applications, project direction, architectural solutions, and combining to, for the first time I think, deliver a business model into India which is more closely resembling what we see is happening in Europe, the very cutting edge of OTT in terms of aggressive content dedication, elasticity of supply, linking in with a fully fledged cloud solution with AWS, and in that regard we may very well be pioneering here. Now, OTT, as we know, is a collaboration between many customers, many suppliers, and I think if you run into a company that says we deliver end-to-end solutions for OTT, they're probably pulling your leg. In fact, I'd run a million miles. It's a bit like going to the GP and he says, I'm a podiatrist, I do obstetrics, and I throw in a little bit of voodoo as well, just in case you might need that later down the track. So OTT is like a galaxy, and at the centre of that galaxy is a CMS or an OVP, such as ourselves. Call it the mothership if you like. And our approach to OTT, and as it's been this way in India, is to collect a team of specialists. And those specialists, including Diagnal, rotate, you could say, in that galaxy around Mother Earth, which is ourselves at Xstream. And that whole procedure and that whole management is undertaken by these two fellows here. The first of all is the CTO of Diagnal, Rahul, who will explain to you in slides exactly what has happened here in India with this deployment. It's rolling out, as I understand, very soon, and will be enjoyed by all. So Rahul, come on up here and save me. We're going to try to keep the pace moving along a little bit here. I'll give you a quick introduction while Rahul gets set up there to Xstream. Xstream is a Nordic-based company. We started as the out-of-house development centre for the Telenor Group, which you know probably in Asia. And we continue to be that. It was an incubation centre for how best to deploy OTT. As you might know, Sweden, Norway, Finland to some extent, and Denmark are quite ahead of the curve in this area. They've been researching and rolling out various models and styles of OTT for many years. We've been around for about 15 years, so I think that makes us probably the longest living OTT solutions platform you can find on the market today. We've now entered into India, courtesy of these fellas and Alt. And we're looking forward to settling down and putting some roots down here and perhaps finding some new business, hence our visit today. Alt, as you know, is, well, it's probably the genius little brother of the Balaji Group. They've got an aggressive strategy, as I mentioned before. It's pleasing to work with a bunch of guys that really want to take on this market, and let's see how it's received. But we have high hopes for them, as they do for themselves, and we wish them luck. So, Rahul, over to you. And this is how we did it in 20 minutes or less. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Bob. So I'd like to cover the challenges. First of all, I'd like to cover the challenges of launching an OTT solution, which is India ready. So my first slide talks about the challenges with respect to the content. So India, as you all know, is a very diverse, culturally diverse nation. It's one of the largest diversified nations in the world. And you have more than 15 plus languages that are used in this country. So if you're going to launch a pan-India kind of a service, it's very important to get the multilingual aspect right. So you need to support different audio tracks, different subtitles, different images for different regions. The next aspect you would want to get right would be on the curation aspect. So there is not a single curation of content that would work across for all audiences. Each audiences in different states have different interests, different passions. There are too many different demographics within the country. So your curation has to be based on probably languages. It has to be based on the various locations. It can even be based on say, a region event that is happening on a particular region. So another challenge that is very unique to the market would be with respect to search and discovery. One of the very interesting aspects of India is that, like, say, every state consumes content that is produced in more than 4 or 5 languages. So because people are very literate in most of the regions, and they actually watch content which is not just from their regional language, but across all languages that is present in India. So if an OTT provider, if a content provider is set out to launch content across all these languages, it becomes an immensely large catalog. Now, how do you make discoverability possible in this catalog is one of the key challenges. So one way of doing this is probably by the old school filtering, just provide filters, the language filters, etc. But I think we have taken it to a different notch, where we are providing discoverability based on the user's preferences, the user's location base. So it's more contextualized as well as personalized. On search is a unique challenge because, like, most of our titles, most of our content titles are actually on the native languages. And then it actually gets searched in English within a service, because English is the most popularly used language across the internet. And the biggest challenge there is it's very easy to get the spellings wrong. It's very easy to make typos. So the one thing that we have been always optimizing is on how to get the accurate results based on what the user is searching. That can be done using techniques like fuzzy matching. There could be phonetic matching. You could also do techniques based on the popularity of the content. Say if you feel that a particular search term is getting trending, you showcase results based on that. Also personalized search results for the users. So moving on to my next slide, the next challenge in India, what we have all faced, is on the range of devices that are available in the market. So there is a very low-end devices that you probably get for 1,000 or 2,000 INR to the ultra-high definition devices, which could even support a 4K. So there is a huge fragmentation out there in the market. Now, the fragmentation would result in different OSs, different OS versions, the different codecs, the delivery formats in these devices are different, there are memory constraints, and more importantly, there are specific design guidelines for each of these devices. So if you just have an app on one device, it cannot be just ported into the other ones. The security aspect on these devices are also important. So it's important to consider all this aspect while you're developing application, multi-screen application catering to this wide range of devices. Next, on the delivery side, first of all, on the internet connectivity. So on the internet connectivity, we have two ranges of talks, right? Right now, we are all talking about a 4G rollout across India. Now, a 4G rollout is technically capable of even delivering ultra high definition videos. But on the other side, the facts shows us, this is one of the statistics that Ericsson has published. Most of the users has internet connectivity issues, both indoors as well as while they are on the commute. Now, how do you cater to both these extreme end of users, which is the biggest challenge? Now, a few ways of doing that is by supporting adaptive bitrate streaming across a different range of bit rates, supporting app usage even when the device is in offline. So download and playback is one of the ways of achieving that. And in India, security. I mean, India is one of the few countries which is notorious for the piracy concerns. So it's important, like any premium OTT provider or premium content provider would think twice before actually making their content available on an internet, which is an open network. So it's important to get your DRM strategies right. So there are studio-approved DRMs like PlayReady, Verimetrics, Widevine, and all that. And it's important to tamper-proof your devices as well as your apps. There are a few devices which are not secure, and you might need to blacklist them in order so that the users cannot use those devices for streaming your content. Then there might be your studio restrictions that might not allow you to stream your content outside a particular geography. So geo-blocking. Then there's a concurrency level rights, which actually allows you to keep a check on the account sharing, the password sharing scenarios, etc. Now coming into monetization, which is another interesting area, especially in India, because the Indian users are very, very picky and choosy about where they actually spend the money. So they really are, it's always after biggest value for money. So it's important that I don't think a single, like a Netflix kind of a single subscription model might not really work across all the demographics of all the people in India. So it's important that your product supports, or your product at least has a roadmap to support different offerings, which might include free, which might include a sneak peek preview of the content so that the users can taste what they get when they pay for it. It might be in form of subscriptions. It could be in the form of pay-per-view, rental. So there are different type of offerings through which you could package your content out there to the users. Another challenge is with respect to the payments. So in India, due to the RBI guideline where they require two-factor authentication, the recurring billing subscription is not possible. So few ways of working around that would be to have plans that are like quarterly or an yearly or a half-yearly kind of plans, which can be bundled. And then you have the different payment modes, and unfortunately, credit cards is not a very common payment mode in India. So it might be you might want to support other payment modes like carrier billing, the different wallets that are getting used. Even in some extreme cases, you might even want to support pay by cash on a retail store or a cash on delivery. So to get the users to pay for your content. And India traditionally has been a low ARPU market. Most of Asia Pacific has been a low ARPU kind of a market. So it's important that the service grows onto a particular scale. And for achieving that, you might have to partner with different channels like OEMs by pre-burning it on their devices, platform providers like Google, Apple, other OTT aggregators that could take you to different markets or probably use their branding to take your content forward. The telcos and operators by bundling data packs into it or carrier billing that I discussed before. So my next slide actually talks about the customer strategy. So I think this is a traditional a marketing funnel which has been flipped. So you have your acquisition, you have your activation, you have your retention, revenue, and referrals. But what we have done here is like one of the things that is interesting is that there's a lot of marketing money that typically gets spent on acquiring a user, and maybe even for activating that user, like activation in the forms of installation or getting that user to register on the application. But the ball stops there, and most of the time the focus goes away because most of the reports that you see only talks about how many downloads that happened, how many active users per month. But that is no actual data on how you are actually retaining your customers, how you are actually engaging with them. So retention and engagement is something very key. I mean, it's key for all markets, but more so for India, because in India, you spend a lot of money to get someone to go out of the way from a TV channel to come into an OTT, which is quite new for them. And then if you don't focus on the retention strategy, you might lose that user forever. So some of the ways we make that engagement possible is through promotions, timely communications to the user, giving them product updates, making them excited to come back into the product, giving them personalized content, and also like some kind of loyalty credits based on their usage. And one other good aspect is once you have the users retained, once they are engaging with their application, the chances of gaining revenue from them also increases. You could upsell content to them, you could cross-sell, and in a market like India, next sell is even more important because, say, when you don't have a recurring billing relationship with the customer, you have to sell him on a monthly kind of a basis. You have to sell the same service again and again to him, and you need to ensure that his excitement levels are not going down. So once Once you have a very much engaged and retained user, he would actually do the referrals for you. He would, maybe it's a word of mouth, maybe it's social, but you would also, it would be good to have a community around your app, maybe in forms of user-generated content like comments, likes, shares, which would all actually help you to funnel back into the acquisition cycle in a more organic way than spending all your marketing dollars into it. So with growth, obviously, there's a question of scalability as well. So you need to build your infrastructure for scale, and there is a huge potential. The potential user base in India is much higher than probably a Western region, because an average service itself would scale up to a 2 to 3 million user base. So it's important that you have a scalable infrastructure. This could be achieved by different strategies like microservices, caching, load distribution, etc. And given that there's a lot of demand for the Indian content outside India, you might want to partner with other providers to take your content there, or you might want to go yourselves. So if you're going yourselves, there are a couple of challenges like how you deploy into those regions, how you take care of those multiple CDNs and the currencies, the payment currencies and mechanisms which are local to that market. On the operations side, so it's important that once you scale beyond a point, you bring in as much automation as possible onto your systems, both in the content and delivery workflow. You also need to ensure that there is ample monitoring, those alerts and insights that you get out of the system, so that it becomes more proactive. You're actually being more proactive with respect to the management of the system than waiting in for some support tickets or some customer complaints to happen. Another important aspect, given especially in low ARPU regions like India, is on the cost optimizations. It's important that we save every penny. And for that, one of the biggest thing that needs to be optimized would be on the video delivery, because that's actually going to, video delivery and storage would take more than 50 to 60% of your cost. You also will need to do a continuous usage analysis, which will actually help you in understanding what is the infrastructure requirements that you have, and focus on auto-scaling aspect rather than spending a lot of CapEx, go for an OpEx-based model, and have a lot of automation which could actually help bring down the manpower that is required for managing a large service at scale. Finally, this is a solution overview that we have put together with Xstream. So as you can see, like Bob mentioned, Xstream, the mothership, was right at the middle, so which is the online video platform. And then we have the device experiences, which are the applications that have been developed. Then you have two offerings from Diagnal, which is on the Know and Engage. Know is a big data and analytics solution. So it collects all the insights from the different systems, both from the users, from different systems that are talking to Xstream or to the different apps. And then you have Diagnal Engage, which actually helps in engaging with the users and ensuring that they keep coming back into the apps by running recommendations, checking for user feedback, by running promotions, etc. So this is one of the aspects that I talked about in my customer strategy slide. And then there were the different third-party integrations. So finally, I'd like to call upon Ashish from Alt, so who would provide you more details on the Alt roadmap and how we actually help them achieve it. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. So as Bob and Rahul have done a lot of explaining from a solution point of view, I would just like to share a few points which we experienced in our journey till date with Xstream and Diagnal. So sitting on the client side, just a question for everybody. How many of you actually have heard about Alt? Okay, great. How many would have heard about Balaji Telefilms? Like almost everybody, right? So Alt is a 100% subsidiary of Balaji Telefilms. It's an attempt from Balaji Telefilms to hit the hot OTT space. So the challenge that we have and still have, because we're not in market, I'm sorry, I'll just take the seat and speak. So the challenge that we always had is being on the production side and having, being zero in the technology side. How do we take this uphill task of getting into the OTT space, learn technology, and do the entire solutioning without having a backbone in the space at all. So and that's where you start to look into market and who are the players and what do they offer. And Xstream and Diagnal combination, when we chose, there were fundamental factors which led us to choose the combination. So as Rahul really got into the point by point of what challenges we face in India. However, from the consumer point of side, we are all aware about these challenges. And sitting from the business side, how do you really figure out the right partners and as we'll all see once alts in the market, that why the combination that we're choosing will work, and we think that it should work. So the vendors have to really, and from an end consumer perspective, it's just an app. But when you're talking about OTT space, each one of us who's been in the space have known it's a quite uphill task. From technology point of view, there are multitudes of systems that you need to marry to get a good product out. And how do you really choose each of your vendors and partners in a way that you can build a good product and a good service out? Because for the end consumer, it's just touch and play and go. And from a business point of view, there are many tasks and challenges that you need to really nail down. And the biggest thing is that what your partners have to do for you is to simplify everything. From a business point of view, Xstream and Diagnal solution just came and simplified everything for us, from a user management perspective, from a video technology perspective, and from a time to market perspective. So we kept on doing things in a very well-defined project managed structure, and that's why Balaji as a company, from being a production side, really now we stand strong on technology side as well, because the solution that they deliver looks to be quite promising and full of features and abilities that we think we are no more a production house only, and we can look into going into this new space and do some rocking stuff. Other than simplifying everything, there's also one more important factor. OTT space in India, nobody is making money, and this is a known fact. Not a single player in this space has been ever as it's the initial stage of the industry entirely, and nobody's essentially made revenues which are substantial. The overall industry is supposed to grow in next 5 to 10 years. So it's a very high capex, high opex model that broadcasters, telcos, and everybody else is just getting into. So for a lot of companies, it becomes an extension of their brand to the online space. But for a company like Balaji, it's a very high risk game, because from a cost plus model in the television industry, we are now attempting a whole blow at OTT space. And so you have to look at partners who also provide you a cost effective solution. It's not just and there are a lot of OTT, there are more than 20 platforms that exist in India, and technology providers, multitudes of technology providers who say that we'll do end to end, but really not every end. And end to end is a very vague term, and you have to really understand what they have to offer from A to Z for you for a OTT business to go to market, and provide a cost-effective solution which is India pricing and not a. So when we released the first announcement about our alliance with Xstream, a lot of people called us up and said that how can you even afford them? They're a European company, but what they did for us is very simple. They simplified the whole process for us, gave us an India viable business numbers, and that's what you need to look at. They just helped us get started in a very simple manner, and that's what you need from a partner. So I think these are the 2 points: cost effectiveness and simplicity. Because yeah, so that's it. I think. Yeah, I'll stop.